got kind of re-aggravated in the third quarter. Just having a hard time breathing and rotating my upper body. So I was worried about a punctured lung as well. So I want to get that checked out.
With all the injuries, is there a reason to finish the season out? Or is it time to heal up and take care of stuff?
Yeah, I don't really want to take my mind there, but as long as we're mathematically alive, I'd like to be out there.
There's Louis Riddick and Jeremy Fowler. Jeremy, the latest with Aaron Rodgers.
Max, the latest is the Packers are awaiting testing results. Last night, they could not determine if there was any sort of fracturing of the ribs, and so they want to make sure that's not the case. If it is, still a chance he could play a la Justin Herbert from a few weeks back when he played through a rib injury. And so they're trying to sort all that out today. And so, I've talked to some people around the league that are now openly wondering whether Aaron Rodgers is done for the year based on multiple ailments. You got the thumb issue as well, although he said the thumb was feeling better last night. I don't expect this by any stretch to be a benching situation. If he can play and they still have a 2% chance to make the playoffs, Rodgers is likely going to be out there.
Louis, what do you think the Packers should do with Rodgers and Jordan Love the rest of the season?
As long as he's healthy, Max, I think he should play. And I think as long as he wants to play, he should play. Look, before that injury took him out of the game, he threw the football as well last night early on in that football game as he's thrown it all year long. The touchdown he threw to Randall Cobb was on an absolute rope, and it was a tight spiral. It was decisive, and he looked dialed in last night. And I think, when you're talking about a guy of his caliber and a guy of his years and his accomplishments and his resume, you have this conversation with him. You allow him to decide whether or not he is going to continue to play at a high level for your football team or not. That's why you signed him this past offseason. I understand there may be some interest in trying to figure out with an extended look what you have in Jordan Love. But this isn't that situation. If Aaron's healthy and he's not going to pose any risk further to himself in terms of his health, then you let him play the game. Simple as that to me.
Mike, if you're the Packers GM, how are you handling this?
I'm sitting him down. I have to know what we have in Jordan Love. Ironically, a decade ago when we traded for Brett Favre at the Jets, Aaron Rodgers was their heir apparent, and they knew exactly what they had, and obviously they were right. Jordan Love could be the future of this organization. They need to know what they have. And even though that's an unpopular decision, you have a responsibility for what's in the long-term best interest of the Packers. And you say to Aaron Rodgers, thanks for everything, but we got to move forward with Jordan Love. And then at the end of the year, Max, you'll know what kind of hand you have with Aaron Rodgers. You may have a stronger hand, a weaker hand, but you have to know exactly what you have in Jordan Love. And more fundamentally, can you win games with him moving forward?
Guys, it felt to me like last night, like yesterday totally, was like the moment where I felt there's been a changing of the guard. The Eagles have this young, excellent team with this young, excellent quarterback, and in spite of Rodgers' best efforts, and the Christian Watson's coming along, and that looks like Aaron Rodgers. Oh wait, they don't miss the point after the kick, and they have the lead there. No, it was like fighting the tide. Rodgers is 38 years old. He leaves with the ribs, and it's the young, hotshot quarterback on the other side. Remember earlier in the season when they played the Bills, I said, who has the advantage at quarterback? And everyone said the other team, the Bills, had the advantage at quarterback. Look what's happening around the league. It happened to Tom Brady. It happened to Aaron Rodgers. Breeze and Roethlisberger are gone already, right? It felt to me like yesterday. No, Louis, you say no?
He's not in the same. Look, we cannot compare Ben Roethlisberger at the end of his career to Aaron Rodgers. Aaron can still throw this football at a very, very high level. Look, you can go ahead and point the blame however you want in terms of how he handled this past offseason and the lack of chemistry, therefore, that he had with the young wide receivers. But it was not because, Aaron Rodgers has hit a wall to the degree where he can't throw the ball 25 yards on the deep out from the opposite hash, to these wide receivers. He can't drive the ball down in the middle of the field. He's not making quick decisions. He can't get out of the way of the pass rush. He lacks the same kind of desire to compete at a high level. None of those factors were evident heading into this year, and none of those factors were evident last night. He's not at the end of his career at all.
That's right. Wait, that's right.
As a matter of fact, if he had the same kind of chemistry.
No, that's right, Louis.
What I'm saying is if he had the same kind of chemistry with these guys now that he had at the beginning.
Yeah.
I think you should still continue to let him play, personally.
I think there's some other irony here, which is Jalen Hurts was drafted after Jordan Love. And if I'm the Packers, knowing that the quarterback's a developmental position, saying look at where Jalen Hurts has come in 2 years by playing, getting well coached, getting better. I'm sure in the back of their mind, they're thinking like, well, what do we have in Jordan Love, and what could that look like in a year?
Let's
Yeah,
talk about what
guys,
they have in Jalen Hurts. Let's talk about what they have in Jalen Hurts. Jeremy, we're going to move on, but okay. The Philly side of things, Jalen Hurts and the Eagles were dominant, guys. 157 yards, set a franchise single-game record for most by a QB. Think about some of those running quarterbacks they've had in the history of Philadelphia, too. Eagles are now 10-1. So, Lewis, what are you seeing? Let's look at the flip of this. This is what I mean. There are some young guns in the NFL. What are you seeing from Jalen Hurts?
Look, I'm seeing a guy who, when it's not all correct, he can just make it correct. I'm seeing a guy who really, along with others, is starting to change the lens through which you view franchise quarterbacks. I mean, just look at the college game, which I've been able to call this year extensively, and how the position is transforming at that level. And I think that's going to eventually become what you're seeing now at the pro level from a guy like Jalen Hurts. Meaning, we'll still be able to develop you as a pocket passer, as a third down, full field read thrower. But on first and second down, all bets are off, man. If it's not clean for you, don't stand back there and try to prove to someone that you can get the progression 3 or 4 in the read. Go. Especially if teams are playing any kind of man coverage or two-man coverage and they turn their back to you.
Yeah.
Go and rip off 35, 40, 50-yard runs. That's what I saw last night. I saw the dawn of a new era in terms of what I think the ideals will be for a franchise quarterback going forward.
Yeah, the hoodwinking that used to go on in the NFL, where the powers that were would say, oh, you don't want a quarterback who can also run. Somehow it's bad if you can do more than one thing. That certainly there's been a changing of the guard and the mentality of that style of play. Jeremy, you were at the game last night. What was the mood like in Philly?
Oh, yeah, I was in the locker room. Eagles felt like they sent a clear message that they can bully people, especially in January. Jason Kelsey put it this way, that it felt great to be kicking some butt out there. And he used another word, of course. And, you know, like A.J. Brown said, this is playoff football. So we feel conditioned for later in the season when the games get tight and you have to win with physicality. So that offensive line was feeling really good about itself. And they feel like Jalen Hurts has only catalyzed his MVP campaign. As Miles Sanders said, we're winning games because of him, not just with him.
Mike T, I always felt like Lane Johnson was the tipping point on that offensive line, even going back 5 years or so. When he was healthy, they were like unstoppable. They look real good on the offensive line. They have a defense they can run. Jalen Hurts can throw it. He has receivers. They're going to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl?
No, because you know what else was unstoppable last night? The Green Bay Packer rushing attack. And that's why they'll be sitting at home watching the Dallas Cowboys play. Because when both teams are at their best, Dallas is slightly better. And when you go back to their first game, it was Cooper Rush against Jalen Hurts. The rematch that we're going to see in a couple of weeks in Dallas is going to be led by Dak Prescott, who is #1 in the NFL, leading the Dallas Cowboys offense in points scored since they've been back. And that's why these are two great teams going toe-to-toe. But I just feel at the end of the day, the A game of the Dallas Cowboys is slightly better than the A game of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Before we move it along, Mike T, real quick, Jalen Hurts was still developing earlier in the year, and he's still developing. Would you rather have, for that matchup, they're going head-to-head, Jalen Hurts or Dak Prescott?
I'm going to take the Dallas offense. They're #1 in points.
Jalen Hurts or Dak Prescott?
Well, it's hard to answer that because
That's why I'm asking. I'm asking an expert.
Well, I'm taking Jalen Hurts right now based on how he's playing. You know,
Jalen Hurts. Lewis, one word. Jalen Hurts or Dak Prescott?
Right now, I'm taking Jalen Hurts.
Jeremy, Jalen Hurts or Dak Prescott?
Dak. I'm going with
Well,
the
it's
pocket passer.
3-1. Jeremy. Could have had a